Christian McCaffrey getting very close to his return. Can we see him on the field post bye week? Kyle Shanahan giving updates on all the latest injuries for the 49ers and still some work to do. Let's take a look at the standings in the NFC West and the NFC now for the 49ers as they sit post 8 weeks. Coming at you right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you, as always, at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers and appreciate all the new listeners. Make sure you are subscribed. I'm serious. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast so you can hang out with us every day. Today's episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, Croc, we're talking a little bit about the rookies that have been standing out for the 49ers. We got some film work to do in the upcoming week. We have a bye week, so we have a little bit more time to dive into some subjects and some players and break down what we've seen so far through 8 weeks of the NFL season for the San Francisco 49ers. I want to check in on the standings as well, as we've got a 3-way tie atop the NFC West. Things getting very tight right now, so still a lot of work to do for the 49ers, and they're going to get some reinforcements, it looks like, pretty soon, Croc. And according to Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, quote, has had no setbacks, looks like we're on track, but he's going to hit it hard this week while we're gone and simulate some practice stuff for himself. As long as it all goes good, hopefully we'll get him back at practice next week. So McCaffrey going to hit it hard this week during the bye, and this coming Monday, good chance Christian McCaffrey's practice window is reopened, and he's potentially back on the field for the San Francisco 49ers in week 10. So we've got some other running back injuries behind him now too. So comes at a good time. That was kind of the plan we had talked about. It's like maybe expect McCaffrey back some point after the bye week, and it's looking like that's the direction this is going. And obviously the 49ers offense could use Christian McCaffrey. Any offense in the NFL could use a talent like Christian McCaffrey added to the mix.
Who needs Christian McCaffrey when you have Isaac, don't call me Raheem Mostert, Garindo, right? Like, he's running extremely well. I would like to see this. What combination of guys and how they utilize guys that have different skill sets, with Christian McCaffrey. Because Jordan Mason, drastically different. And I think that Garindo, very different, right? And this is a guy, Garindo, who looks like with every carry, he's getting a little bit more and more comfortable. He had a carry early in the season. It was like one carry, lost 2 yards, 49 fans. Hey, he stinks. Get him out of here. His vision sucks. And the more you see him carry the ball, he's getting a little more comfortable with Kyle Shanahan and those guys want. And he's going to look better and better. Hitting the holes, you see the speed, you see the acceleration. I do think he brings a different element, a different dynamic to the backfield. So you add that with what you get from Christian McCaffrey, hopefully returning soon. How do they balance that with what Jordan Mason gives you as well? Because before, Jordan Mason was kind of the odd man out. It was like going straight from CMC to Elijah Mitchell. So do they want something a little different? Do they still want that thumper? Like, there's injuries to Jordan Mason. I know we're going to talk about, but just the backs as a whole, like, how do you think that rotation will be?
I think we won't see Isaac Garindo ever again. And I think we'll see Jordan Mason twice a game or something like that. I think that's the way Kyle Shanahan's been. So until we've seen him change how he runs things, then because it's not like we saw Patrick Taylor after Jordan Mason went down. Patrick Taylor's been, helping return kickoffs with Garindo. Garindo comes in the game. It's all Garindo. I don't think Patrick Taylor got a carry for the 49ers, was on the field at all. So Kyle Shanahan really, of all coaches in the NFL, loves using one guy. And I don't know if he has to worry about a pitch count as much with Christian McCaffrey coming off the injury. If he's, if they tell him he's 100%, is he just going to utilize him 100% because he hasn't had a bunch of carries this year now too? So you don't have the number of totes sort of stacking up against Christian McCaffrey, or are they going to try to play it slow with him and he's only going to be, a halftime player, a part-time player, and maybe they use Jordan Mason a little more on early downs, then on third downs go to McCaffrey. maybe filter in some Isaac Guerrero. That's the way I think it probably should go. But Kyle Shanahan's never shown us he's going to do that. So it'll be fascinating to see how that running back rotation works when Christian McCaffrey's back.
One of the things I want to see is how does Christian McCaffrey help Brock Purdy? Right now, I would say, and I think most people would agree, that this has not been the most efficient version of Brock Purdy that we've seen in the 49er uniform. And when you look at some of the stats, I think there may be a reason why. Christian McCaffrey was a tremendous, I don't even want to call him a check down guy because he's so dynamic with the ball in his hands. And maybe a lot of these plays are kind of designed to get the ball in his hands. But, Christian McCaffrey is definitely someone who you want to you use him as a safety blanket. And with Brock Purdy, you're now talking about, I don't know, I'm looking at his targets from last season. There's multiple games where he actually had 10 plus targets, 10 targets against Baltimore, 10 targets against Jacksonville. He had a bunch of other games where, 8 targets and 7 targets. So a lot of targets going to him. Now you don't have that guy that not only helps with your efficiency, but helps keep the chains moving, keep the 49ers on time. So with Brock Purdy right now, who seems to be kind of hanging onto the ball a little too long at times, looking downfield a lot. I'm curious to see, hey, how much does it help to get Christian McCaffrey back? And do we see a different version of Brock Purdy where now he's playing a little bit more in rhythm as opposed to this guy that's holding onto the ball just a little too long?
I think it'll start to look a little bit more like we saw against the Cowboys, especially in the second half of the game, because there was more screens in this game. There was more short stuff and catch and run stuff. The yards after catch were back, and they've been kind of non-existent for the 49ers, especially to start the year, as the 49ers have thrown the ball more downfield and Brock Purdy's been more aggressive. I don't know if that was by design with Kyle Shanahan, or if Brock Purdy was just going out there and trying to be more aggressive and throw the ball downfield more. But the 49ers were last in YAC, which is insane for a 49ers Kyle Shanahan offense. But against, and David Lombardi relayed the yards per, or the YAC yards per reception this season in every game. And the 49ers were very low to start the year, 3.4, 3, and 3.1. So about 3 yards after the catch per reception in weeks 1 through 3, which is very low. It jumped up a little bit to 6.1 yards in week 4. Week 5 was 5.3 yards. Against the Seahawks in week 6, it was 7.1 yards. Went back down to 4.3 yards per catch after the catch in week 7 against the Chiefs. And then a season high in week 8, 7.8 yards after the catch per reception. And so the 2 best games the 49ers have played this year had their 2 highest yards after the catch in week 6 against the Seahawks, week 8 against the Dallas Cowboys. And I guess you could say that the New York Jets was a really good game for the 49ers in week 1, but maybe that's what surprised some people in week 1. And now we know the Jets aren't as good of a football team as we thought in week 1 as well. But, and all those things, it's harder to have more yards after catch if you're throwing the ball further down the field. But I think obviously the 49ers are kind of settling into where they've always been before and where we more expected them to be, with shorter passing game, get the ball out in your playmakers' hands. And obviously Christian McCaffrey is going to add to that. And they're going to dial up stuff for him specifically to do those things. So I think that's probably a big aspect of how this is going to go going forward, with how Christian McCaffrey helps Brock Purdy, because it's not like a check down situation. Although I think when they are throwing hot and Christian McCaffrey is part of that, he can actually be dynamic in that as well.
I think the bigger question with Christian McCaffrey now is, does Kyle Shanahan help McCaffrey, protect himself? And we've seen Kyle Shanahan, whether you're 100% healthy or if you're going into a game taped and bandaged up, he doesn't care if he has to run you 25 times, even with these injuries. So can Kyle Shanahan save Christian McCaffrey, but can someone save Kyle Shanahan from ruining Christian McCaffrey and having him even more banged up? Christian McCaffrey coming back, maybe Kyle wants to ease it in there, but if we know anything about Kyle, once you say you're healthy and you're ready to play, heck, Deebo Samuel last night, a guy coming into a game with pneumonia, people are wondering what is his load going to be like in this game? Are they going to play him a lot? Is he going to be on the pitch count? No. Oh, we got Deebo. He's ready to play. Cool. We're throwing him the ball early and often. We're giving him handoffs. We're throwing him a bunch of screens. We're throwing him back-to-back screens. whatever we got to do to get the ball in his hands because he's out there on the field, we're going to do it. And I think sometimes, Kyle Shanahan, there's got to be somebody, a voice up top, maybe his dad. Hey, Kyle, chill out just a little bit. This guy just came back. Let's ease this guy in a little bit. And I hope they do that for Christian McCaffrey because the season's not ending tomorrow. You're going to need this guy in the next few months.
We'll see. Christian McCaffrey could be nearing his return to the San Francisco 49ers lineup for the first time this season. And I know one thing, fantasy owners, put Christian McCaffrey in your lineup when he is back. He'll get utilized plenty, even if it's not the full load. Next, you mentioned Deebo Samuel. The latest on Deebo Samuel's rib oblique injury. More injury report for the San Francisco 49ers as they have an extra week to get healthy here during the Week 9 bye. Notes on the rookies for the 49ers, and let's check in on the standings as well next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action right now at FanDuel because new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you want to check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can get informed and find all the stats and make some more bets and player props, NFL futures, Niners to win the Super Bowl, Christian McCaffrey I guess, could he be comeback player of the year? Maybe. He hasn't played the first half of the year. But you can find all of those types of bets at FanDuel.com, World Series, you name it, you can find it. And you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Download the app and get America's #1 sportsbook or go to FanDuel.com. All right, Croc. Deebo Samuel has a rib/oblique injury is what he's dealing with, which is usually, it means that's something that he's just going to have to deal with pain-wise. And when it comes down to NFL players and having an injury that is like a pain threshold thing, and we know Deebo's a tough guy. I mean, he's got the lungs, he's got pneumonia too. It's like, it's rough. It's good timing for the bye week for Deebo Samuel. I don't know. He has no injury designation right now, but they're going to reevaluate Deebo Samuel with his ribs, his oblique, his pneumonia after the bye. I have a feeling he'll be able to go, and it's a really welcomed week of rest for Deebo Samuel.
And you're going to need Deebo, again, another guy. You're going to need him healthy, and they utilize him in different ways. But this is a guy that has been banged up. I see what they're saying on social media. A lot of people upset about just how often this guy is banged up, potentially missing games. But one thing that we can't question right now is his toughness. I mean, he was actually out there on the field, warming up, suited up, trying to play or hoping to play with pneumonia until it was like, I'm really struggling right now. Let's get me checked out. And he has to go to the hospital, come to find out guy has pneumonia. So he's tough, and he's going to try to really kind of thug through these injuries and different things that he has going on, which a lot of players around the league have going on right now. But Deebo Samuel, especially with the absence of Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be a big part of what the 49ers are doing moving forward. And I think we saw a lot of that in this previous game against the Dallas Cowboys.
It was about to be a flu game for Deebo if he didn't get hurt and leave the game. Like, he was balling out. He had 4 catches for 15 yards, but he had 71 yards, including the 47-yarder on the ground. And speaking of yards after catch, Ricky Pearsall. It was after Deebo left the game, right? I think he ran one of Deebo's plays and had a nice little gain of his own on the ground. So sorry, I said that opposite. He was 4 carries for 15 yards. It was a reception that he had for Deebo Samuel for 47 yards, but it was a carry for Ricky Pearsall that was a 39-yard. Same story for Jordan Mason and his shoulder. It's going to be reevaluated after the bye. Renardo Green has an ankle injury is what it was that he left the game with. And we're going to find more about that when they come back from the bye. It doesn't look like it's going to be a huge problem for him, but he was not able to come back in that game. And I think we're going to do a little film work on Renardo Green this week. Yeah, Croc?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And, that play, Richard Sherman actually had a breakdown on the play where I think Renardo Green got hurt. We talked about a little bit. You had a safety come down and Ji'Ayir Brown really just run through Green, who I think Green is playing very well so far this season. But everything that I've been taught is when you're a cornerback and you're a slot defensive back, you want to be on different levels so you don't run into each other. I've never heard what to do when a safety is coming from depth and actually ends up running into a guy. So if you haven't experienced something or you haven't been coached up on something, it's hard to know exactly what to do in that situation. But shout out to Richard Sherman for some clarification on that. The safety is supposed to kind of let the defensive back pass. However, he has to do that. And then you eventually have to get down and really get down on a tight end because you have the easier job, right? Whoever's kind of running, which we know now, CD Lamb was running vertical on Brown on Green. That is more difficult to cover than a tight end to the flat. So Ji'Ayir Brown kind of has to be a little aware of what's going on, put on the brakes a little bit, let his defensive back clear, and then come down and worst case scenario, make a tackle for a 5-yard gain.
Yeah, chill out, Ji'Ayir. I know he was hitting folks on Sunday night, but you don't want to lay out your own guys there. Chris Conley has a hamstring injury. Week to week is the prognosis there, which means it's probably a pretty healthy hamstring injury because normally that would be more of a day-to-day thing. So week to week makes me feel like Chris Conley could be potentially not available to play after the bye. And D. Winters is in concussion protocol there. So those were the new injuries and the updates from Kyle Shanahan on the San Francisco 49ers. You mentioned Renardo Green and how well he played. You know who agrees with you, Croc? Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Focus had Renardo Green as the highest graded player on the 49ers entire roster in the Week 8 game versus the Dallas Cowboys. He had a 91.3 grade, which is just ahead of George Kittle, who was second with a 90.2 grade. Ji'Ayir Brown just mentioned. He probably got knocked for that play because that was a touchdown. It's kind of on him. But he was 86.4 grade, the number 3 graded player. Then it was Deebo Samuel and Diamador Lenore, which was the top 5. And from watching the game, that checks out, Croc.
I think the cool thing there is you have a lot of skill position players who are very talented, and whether it's the offensive guys, the pass catchers, or it's these defensive backs, you really want your defensive backs to grade out high. And to see 3 of them grading out as high as they did, and not just 3 DBs, 3 young guys, that's exciting to see.
No doubt. I want to talk a little bit more about the rookies as well, because this is from Nick Wagner of ESPN. Through 8 games, rookies have played 1,665 snaps for the 49ers. Dominic Puney has played the most snaps for the 49ers so far in the 2024 season with 549 snaps. He's basically played all the snaps this year. Last year, the rookie class played 1,760 snaps all season long, with Ji'Ayir Brown playing the most at 554. So essentially, Dominic Puney, through 8 weeks, has already played as many snaps as the rookie who played the most snaps for the 49ers last year. And the 49ers rookies combined have played nearly as many snaps as the entire rookie class of the whole season in 2023. And even if you go back to 2022, Spencer Burford played the most snaps, 790. Dominic Puney, if he doesn't get hurt, it's going to blow that away. And the rookie class had 2,400 snaps altogether in the 2022 season. Brock Purdy among those, and the 49ers rookie class, depending on injuries, we're not going to get as many Garendo snaps probably once McCaffrey's back. We're not going to get as well. I guess Pearsall is here to stay. Pearsall is going to continue to get snaps because we still have some Deebo and Conley injuries as well. So this class is going to blow previous rookie classes out of the water, not only in just the number of snaps, but just how well they played too.
I was going to say that's the most important thing, how well they played. And Ricky Pearsall got some action against the Kansas City Chiefs. Then you watch him this year, and it's like, hey, there could be a legit role for this guy. And you talk about Pearsall, then you go to Renardo Green, who graded out extremely well. And Dominic Puney, he's played well at guard. Malik Mustafa, Isaac Garendo, Jacob Cowing. That's the 49ers' first 6 picks from this last draft. And all those guys are really contributing in one way or another. So typically that's a bad thing when you have a lot of rookies contributing. But for the 49ers, a team that is trying to trend upward. Matter of fact, like these younger guys are getting more playing time as the 49ers are starting to kind of get in their groove and starting to win. So they're a part of something that is really good. It's really exciting to see what those young guys are doing.
And I love seeing the scouting report, right? It's like, who's Renardo Green? Well, he's, tough, physical at the line of scrimmage, good in man coverage. And you see that on the field as a rookie. He doesn't look like a different guy. He doesn't look lost. Ricky Pearsall, finally get to see him in a couple of games now. What's the scouting report? Pure hands. He's got quickness. He can get off the line. He can uncover. And you see those things. You can give him a little yak, which wasn't on the scouting report. He added some of that. There's a lot of space for him, but you see that quickness with carrying the football. Cowing, we've seen him utilize his speed and get deep. Dominic Puney's been everything on the scouting report and more for the 49ers right away. Malik Mustafa, he's a thumper, but he has some range as well at safety, and we've seen all that. So it's been a phenomenal class, and these guys have been ready to play early. It was an older class, right? And that was one of the things, like, okay, well, you guys better be ready to play if you're an older class. And they have that. So it's been a home run so far for the 49ers rookie class. A lot of contributors, and nobody looks like they're drowning right now out there. Next, Croc, let's talk standings. Where are the 49ers now? Let's take stock after 8 weeks. There's still some work to do for the 49ers and what needs to be done and where they're at versus their opponents, their rivals in the NFC West and the NFC wildcard standings. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Well, our sponsor at Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses. And those include Principles of Chemistry, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Shakespeare's Hamlet, and The Tempest, mathematics and logic. There is so much more: history, math, science, and all of Hillsdale courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. So go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. You know what's the fun and easy way to play DFS? You know what? DFS has the best place to get real money, sports action, and join over 10 million users to sign up today. Yes, none other than Prize Picks. And now you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select players' projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups: football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. And for example, Jamar Chase, more than 79.5 receiving yards. You can find that action on Prize Picks. Just download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That is promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Croc. Let's check out the standings here for the San Francisco 49ers after 8 weeks of the season. And you would hope that the 49ers would have a little bit of lead in the West. Turns out they do not have a lead in the West. It turns out there's a 3-way tie atop the West at 4-4. The Arizona Cardinals, due to the head-to-head win over the San Francisco 49ers, would right now, after they knocked off the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, the Cardinals would lead the West after 8 weeks at 4-4. Niners at 4-4 have the tiebreaker over the Seattle Seahawks due to head-to-head. There's a lot more head-to-head to come with these teams in this division too. Niners get to play them all one more time, so that stuff will all work itself out. But Niners, Cardinals, Seahawks all at 4-4, and don't look now, Los Angeles Rams getting Cooper Kupp back, getting Puka Nacua back, look like a completely different team. They're 3-4 now, just a half a game behind the rest of the NFC West. So this thing is super tight. I think most of us agree and believe that the San Francisco 49ers are the better team, but they got to play like it, and they've got to finish out some wins. They should be a couple games up, but they are the only team, Croc, right now in the NFC West that has a positive point differential. They're plus 28 on the season. The Cards are minus 27. The Seahawks are minus 5, and the Rams are minus 30 on the season. So I think the numbers bear out that the 49ers are the better team. Now they just got to go finish the job here after the bye week. So not only the season has kind of mimicked some of those games, right? It's like, well, this is a pretty good team and you win some games, but then it looks funny and you let teams hang around. Well, you got to go finish the job now in the second half. And that's where the 49ers are going into week 9 bye and then week 10 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Does it worry you at all that not only have some of these teams beat the 49ers, right? Arizona, the Los Angeles Rams, they beat the 49ers head to head, but watching the Rams against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that the 49ers continue to struggle against offensively, but the Rams just go and just look better. Like they just look like a good, competent offense, come out, first 2 drives, touchdowns, get 2 more touchdowns later in the game. Like they just like, do those things kind of bother you at all when you kind of try to figure out who this 49ers team is this season?
Yes. Things have looked more difficult than they should be at times for the 49ers. And it's weird because there are times when Brock Purdy looks awesome and the passing game looks good. And then other stuff is weird. And then special teams is weird. Or then sometimes the defense is looking great. And then the offense looks a little funky. And so it's just like they've not played super complete games enough this year. We've seen it for probably 3 weeks of the season, and the other 5 weeks so far, something seemed a little off, whether it's only, half of the game or part of the game or 1 unit here, 1 unit there. But it hasn't been the complete team that we're used to seeing for the 49ers. And so I think the bye week comes at a fantastic time for them for multiple reasons, getting healthier, but also kind of figuring out maybe what ails them. And maybe it'll help Kyle to be away and get a little rest for once too.
All right. I referenced a couple games that the 49ers lost to the Rams and the Cardinals. And I think the toughest thing is 49ers, I'm pretty sure they believe, and I think most fans believe, they should be sitting at 5-2 right now, right? Like they were up handily on both of those teams and they found ways to lose. So for the 49ers, it's continuing to just kind of get better as the season goes on, stop blowing these leads that they're having early in games, and continue to figure out how to get some continuity. Because you got Tampa coming in, that's a game that you should win, but it's a 10 a.m. start time. They're going to be traveling to the East Coast to play this game. Baker Mayfield, he has been up and down, and you want to keep it that way. He also lost a couple of his receivers, Mike Evans, Godwin now, who's done for the season, and they're trying to figure things out on the fly. But I feel like that's a game right there where the 49ers, can you play and just dominate a team for all 4 quarters? Like I'm looking for that kind of signature win from the 49ers to say we're back. And at 5-4 coming out of the bye, you playing that team, and then the schedule starts to get a little interesting. Seahawks, okay, but Packers, they're playing good football. Buffalo, they're playing really good football. Bears, they've been kind of, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, but they're kind of interesting a little bit. I feel like the 49ers should handle them. But then you got the Rams, and they're going to just be healthier. And you end the season with playing like the Lions and the Cardinals. Like it's not the easiest of schedule, especially when you're looking at it from the standpoint of these teams. A lot of these teams, they've been playing a little bit better than you. So yeah, I'm excited to see how the 49ers come out of the bye, going to Tampa and playing them.
It's extremely difficult. Did you name a team that's below 500?
Rams. Oh, it's just Rams, I guess, and they beat you.
Yeah, and so the division matchups are always tough. The Chicago Bears, that should be a winnable game. The Bears would be in first place right now by themselves in the NFC West at 4-3. So, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you mentioned the Bucs. So the Bucs are 4-4. It's a good example right now. So the West is really going to be the most important thing because you got to win the division. That'll get you a top 4 seed in the playoffs, because otherwise you're going to be fighting a lot of teams with the 49. Unless you go on a rattle off a crazy winning streak and win 8 straight games or something, 7 straight games. I mean, that, and the 49ers have done it before, and they're certainly capable of doing that. Although they've got some tough opponents here, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're right ahead of the 49ers. The Niners would only be the 10 seed right now. They would have to leapfrog 3 teams just to get to the last wild card spot if the season ended today, because there's a ton of good teams right now in the NFC and a lot of teams that are really tight and packed together. And a lot of those teams have won more conference games, which is the conference tiebreaker for the wild card, than the 49ers. So the 49ers, due to the head-to-head, are ahead of the Seahawks, who are the 11 seed right now in the NFC. Niners are the 10 seed ahead of them. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their next upcoming opponent. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have like a 2-game lead on the 49ers in conference games, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4-2 in the conference. The San Francisco 49ers just won their second game against NFC opponents against the Cowboys. So the Niners are 2-3. So they don't have the tiebreaker against any of the 4-4 teams. Chicago Bears would have the tiebreaker on them right now. They're 2-1 in the conference. They're 4-3. Then you got the Eagles at 5-2, the Minnesota Vikings at 5-2, the Packers at 6-2. If the season ended today, 3 of the 4 and potentially all 4 of the NFC North teams could sneak in.
Real quick on the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the part that's hard to give Kyle and the 49ers a bunch of excuses. They've had to play multiple games without Jordan Love, and they just had to finish another game without Jordan Love. You got Malik Willis in that quarterback, and they figured out ways to win games with Malik Willis, a guy that the previous team just did not want. And it's not like he's this amazing quarterback, even in this, his short time playing and starting for Green Bay, but they're figuring out ways to win. And that's all I want from Kyle. Like, you have guys, you have your quarterback. Yes, guys have been banged up, but it's the NFL. Everybody's getting banged up. You have to figure out a way to pull out victories. And some of these other coaches, even doing it maybe with some less star players, are figuring out ways to do it.
No doubt. And then the top 4 seeds and by the way, the Packers adding Robert Saleh to the mix as well. And they might already have the NFC. I don't know. Probably if we voted on NFC Coach of the Year so far, go to Matt LaFleur. Maybe Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings.
Nah, it's gotta go. You gotta go Dan Campbell.
Campbell? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're 6-1, but they're just they just came out swinging, throwing haymakers.
Yeah. And so the 1 seed is the Detroit Lions at 6-1. They're the only 1-loss team in the NFC. You got the Commanders that are still 6-2. I kind of have been waiting for them to crash a little bit every week, and they're just not doing it. The Atlanta Falcons would be leading the South after beating the Bucs last week. They're 5-3, and the Cards would be the 4 seed at 4-4 right now. So that's the NFC and NFC West playoff pictures right now. A lot of teams the Niners are going to be competing with. So a ton of work still to do, and a pretty difficult schedule after the bye. And hopefully we'll see a more consistent football team from the 49ers after this bye. And I think it's a good opponent, because I'm real worried about that Buccaneers defense. That their defense is kind of trash right now, and they don't have their 2 best playmakers on offense either. So that's a beatable team. You're going to get Baker Mayfield out there trying to play hero ball and throwing a bunch of picks. So it might not look too different than what we just saw from the Dallas Cowboys in that opponent with the Buccaneers right now. So I think they're a team that's going to fall off.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the only team to have beaten the Detroit Lions this season. And when you look at Detroit, especially over the last 4 games, 42 points, 47 points, 31 points, 52 points. This is a team that can put up points, man. Dan Campbell has those guys cooking. And not just Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Future head coach. He probably won't pass up that opportunity. He could have been a head coach this year if he wanted to. And they're probably going to go to the trade market and add a pass rusher as well, those Lions. We just saw Josh Uche get traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. 49ers might need to bid on some of these pass rushers as well. And I think, would you right now? Let's save this for tomorrow. Tomorrow's conversation, Winky Wednesday. Let's talk trade deadline again. Niners on a bye week. We'll get to some more bye week subjects as well. We're going to dive into the film work, especially on some of the rookies and some of the defensive backs that Croc knows best. And which position is it? Is wide receiver still the position to look at on the trade market? Or should we start talking about some other positions potentially for the 49ers to maybe make some additions during the bye week before the trade deadline? All that coming up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.